Welcome back, everybody, to That's DPI. I'm Zach, and that is Tyler over there, and we are all set to bring you a ton of great content. We have a new segment today we're going to call Hired or Fired. We're going to talk about some players and coaches on the hot seat. We also have some recaps about both of our teams, and we're going to talk a little bit about the recent signing of 44-year-old Phillip Rivers to the Indianapolis Colts. But of course, as always, we're going to start with the marquee segment of That's DPI, and we have a treat. 2 different ref calls of the week for you guys, and we're going to start on Thursday Night Football with the Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys. So, Tyler, I'll pass it to you for the situation.
Okay, so we've got Dak Prescott. He's standing near the goal line. He ends up getting sacked. The Lions are calling for a safety, but it is ruled not a safety. So here is that
Actually,
play.
it's ruled on the field as a safety, but overturned later by replay review.
Okay, gotcha. But ultimately, they do decide that this is not a safety. That is the situation. Here's another angle of it. And now, so Zach, this is your team, so I'll let you bat first here.
Right.
You're probably in the safety field, right?
Well, I'm going to first this kind of give the rule a little context to what the refs are looking for on this play, right? Because obviously a safety is when you get tackled in the end zone, but it gets a little bit more gray when that ball is close to that end line. And so what the refs are looking for on this play is if any part of the ball is over that white plane of the goal line, you can rule when the defender hits the quarterback or the ball carrier, it is considered a safety. Am I correct on that?
So, well, and that was my question. So if it says any part over the goal line, are we talking about over the goal line in the field of play or over the goal line into the end zone?
Right, over the goal line into the end zone. So if any part of the ball is intercepting this plane when the defender hits, so that only applies when the defender makes a hit, it is a safety every time. But if the whole ball, and so the referees, for additional context, when they ruled this not a safety, they said the entire ball was out of the end zone when the ball carrier was contacted by the defender, therefore it's not a safety. Got it? So that's the ref's rationale. Okay. And so I'm going to show you 2 angles. This is the first angle everyone got before they went to commercial break. So we look here. He's contacted by Jack Campbell. Looks like that part of the ball is over the plane. And he is then dragged in. He never reestablishes himself outside of the end zone. He is dragged into the end zone for what looks like a pretty obvious safety. So this was the key angle that we all saw, where that ball, when contacted by Jack Campbell, because mind you, it's Hutch. It's Campbell, not Hutch. Hutch does not make contact. It is Campbell. And so contact starts here. Where's that ball, Tyler?
Mm-hmm. I see what you're showing.
Okay. Next angle is this one. This is the one they showed after the commercial break. So a slow-mo angle of Dak tucking the ball, and he's contacted. Now where's that ball?
You're not going to like my answer.
I think we may agree here. I don't think this is a safety based on the second angle.
I don't think this is the answer because, again, I thought you were going to be in the safety category. And so on that first angle, when you said, where's the ball? I was like, in my head, I was like, that angle's not right down the goal line. I see what you're saying, but I want to see it right down the goal line. And now that I am kind of going into what I was going to say, what I thought was going to be a counter to your point was I don't think this ball is in the end zone. I don't think this is a safety.
So here's my thing. As a Lions fan, I am trying to be objective, and I thought live when they showed that first angle before commercial, no doubt in my mind this is a safety. Can't believe the refs are screwing us. Then they show this second angle, and it was clearly Amazon trying to stoke a little controversy on their broadcast, and I guess it worked because they were the most viewed Thursday Night Football broadcast in NFL history last night. Lions set another record. So Amazon knows what they're doing. Strum up controversy, get everyone on Twitter talking about it. People tune into the game. This was in the second quarter. I think that this is clearly the right call. The only argument for safety that I have, it's a little bit of a devil's advocate argument. Is this angle enough evidence to overturn a call on the field? That would be my only question, because there's multiple angles. One of them shows the ball clearly in. One of the ball seems to show the ball clearly out. If you have conflicting reports, it typically means you're not going to get the overturn. But it seems the ref thought this was enough, right, Tyler?
Sure, and I agree that this is enough actually, because
Okay.
the angle that shows clearly in, which was the first angle you just saw, it's at an angle. It's not looking down the goal line. It's almost the same argument Bills fans said with Josh Allen kind of being short or clearly past the line, was like they're looking at a weird angle. And so, yeah, if you just draw a line straight up from a bad angle, it's going to look that way. So this camera angle looking straight down the line, you see almost 100% of the ball, really. I think this is definitely enough of the ball poking out to overturn a call on the field.
Yeah, and it's frustrating that this angle wasn't the one shown to fans, because it had me pretty up in arms for an entire commercial that they would even consider reviewing this. But there was clearly conflicting evidence. The refs ended up going with what looks like the clearer, more down the line angle. So I think we both agree. Refs actually got it right this time. No safety. And Lions ended up scoring a touchdown anyway, and they won the game. So it wasn't really an impactful call, but it was controversial enough for us to cover it and kind of cover that new wrinkle to the rule of, if any part of the ball is over the plane, it is in fact a safety, right?
Yes, and it also is a learning thing, because usually we think the opposite of, where the ball starts is the forward progress line. Obviously, out of the end zone is going to be closer to the first down line and the other goal line. So you would think that the entire ball has to be in the end zone for it to be a safety, but it is the opposite.
Yeah, it was certainly a learning moment for me. Honestly, pretty good job by Terry McCauley. Even Terry was, before the commercial, saying this is clearly a safety, they got it wrong, and then he amended his statement afterwards. So the broadcast wasn't really doing the fans a lot of favors, or the refs a lot of favors, but it seems like the refs and then eventually the broadcast got it right here. We're going to defend the refs for once. However,
yeah,
this next one is going to be a little controversial. More. So this one, Tyler, I'll give the situation because I'm not sure if you saw this one. 5 minutes left in the game. Ravens down by a touchdown. The score is 27-22. Steelers lead, and it appears that Isaiah Likely, tight end for the Ravens, makes a spectacular catch and extends the ball out in front of the defender. Takes 1, 2, 2.5. Maybe 3 steps, and the ball comes out. Initially ruled a touchdown, called incomplete. Ravens don't get the touchdown, and they can't complete the comeback, losing a crucial divisional game in the final minutes. So the age-old question lives again. What on earth is a catch, Tyler?
So the rule states something along the lines of being able to make a football move.
A move common to the game, right?
What's up? Yes, yes. A football move, a move that is common to the game. And there's actually no real rule about the number of steps being taken. Now, if you're taking 4 steps, you're making a football move common to the game, but it's not like traveling in basketball where if you take 2 steps, it's a catch, or if you take 2 steps, it's a travel. So to me, I actually agree with the refs on this one. I'm saying incomplete pass, because I think if he's not in the end zone, they rule it an incomplete pass. So he did not maintain the ball long enough to make a football move for it to be considered a fumble. So to me, it's incomplete pass.
So here's my devil's advocate argument, because I'm still kind of on the fence in this one. So you could end up convincing me. But a lot of people on Twitter, including former NFL players, were making the argument, why does any toe tap catch count? Because if Isaiah Likely takes 3 steps, why doesn't that count? If in the end zone, if you were to be falling out of bounds, for example, and he only took 2 steps in bounds, is it still considered a catch? But 3 steps here isn't enough for a catch. What gives, right? Why is it different when you're in the end zone versus when you're doing a toe tap catch on the sideline? And so I want to re-examine the play one more time.
And I actually have an answer to your question right there, first off.
Right. So he makes the catch and has taken this step. He then takes this step. Okay. And then he takes one final step before losing the ball. It's about 2.5 because before this foot comes down, the ball does seem to be falling out of his hands, right? So I would say 2.5 steps with the ball extended out. And one could argue that that's a move common to the game, establishing possession with the catch and then holding it out in front of you. It is common to the game. People do it all the time to get the first down, to keep it away from defenders. So there's a lot of gray area here. I mean, this dates back all the way to Calvin Johnson celebrating in the back of the end zone in a play very similar to this late in the game, and they reverse it. So I want to hear your answer in regards to what I just said.
So the reason that that a toe tap is considered, a touchdown versus something like this is because a toe tap doesn't establish possession. It just establishes inbounds. You still have to maintain the ball, and it has to survive through the ground. Kind of, i.e., going back to did Dez catch it or not, is the argument that the NFL gave was that he did not survive the ground. Now, I disagree. I think Dez Bryant made a football move, but that's a whole separate situation. So a toe tap is just establishing inbounds. He's got 2 feet in bounds, meaning he's in bounds, but he still has to survive making contact with the ground, and he doesn't here. If you make a toe tap catch and then fall, but then you lose the ball when you hit the ground, it's going to be ruled incomplete, even if you had those two toe taps in.
Right. So you're saying that when he catches this ball, brings it into his chest, and then makes the football move of sticking it out like this, I would argue that possession, football move, and then 1 step, 2 step. I would argue possession, football move, 1, 2. So he's established possession, made a common game, and then taken 2 steps. In most definitions of a catch, that's a catch. It's really close to not being a catch because he then immediately loses it, right? But
so if this
what
was
about
not
this
in the
isn't
end
a football
zone,
move?
So let me ask you, if this was not in the end zone, if this is at the 50-yard line or whatever, are you going to rule that a fumble?
I think it also. I think that people
because to me, I don't rule that as a fumble. I don't think he had possession long. We're also playing this in slow motion too. So when you look at live speed, I don't think he's got the ball long enough for him to really have full possession. It reminds me of a play in 2019, and I'm going to pull out a lot of Chiefs lore here. There's a play in 2019 where Tyrann Mathieu swats the ball out of a Bronco defender hand. It's in the snow. I believe it's Courtland Sutton that makes a catch, toe tap, and then on the way down, Tyrann Mathieu gets his arm in there and smacks it out.
I remember this, yeah.
And so in that clip, Courtland Sutton has the ball. He's got 2 hands on it. He's got 2 feet in bounds. And then Mathieu swipes it out, and it's incomplete. No one complains. To me, this is similar to that.
It is similar.
Full speed, I don't think he has. If you watch at full speed, I don't think he has time to maintain full possession.
Okay, so to answer your question on if it was in the end zone, would you still rule it a catch? I think the location is irrelevant. It's whether I think what Isaiah likely does with the ball is a football move, because that's what the refs are looking for too. Location is irrelevant to the referees. And if I'm going to analyze this call like a ref, I'm going to be like, does he make a move common to the game? That's where the debate lies.
That's fair.
And so when I look at it through that lens, and I think that is the lens, he has the catch point here, which is balls here, right? You have to move it from here. You can't just, if he just stays
but
like this.
You also have to maintain possession to do that.
Right. You have to, but at what point is possession established? Because he catches it and then he actively makes the move to move it away from his body. Had it been, let's say this is the football, had he catches it and instead of moving it out, had he just tucked it, took 2 steps and then lost possession, would we be saying it's a catch? Because this is another act common to the game. So had he caught it, taken 2 steps, and then lost it, are we still having this debate? I don't think so, because this is still an act common to the game. The refs just don't see it as much of establishing possession as tucking it. Therefore, they ruled it incomplete. But I would argue that this is an act common enough to the game, sticking the ball out, happens all the time, where this should still be ruled a catch if he takes 2.5 steps afterwards. It's clear establishment of possession because you have to have possession to make a football move. And he then does make a football move. So I would argue he's established it quickly and made a football move. That's my argument. I think this is a catch.
Do we have a full speed clip of this?
I don't think that I have it on tap. I can look it up really fast.
See if you can while you're searching for that. Again, it comes down to what 10 years ago the question is what is a catch? Now the question is what is a football move? And it's that gray area, but when you slow it down, yeah, he turns, he extends, but when you watch it live speed in the spirit of the law, he didn't maintain possession.
Okay, here's full speed live. Ready?
Yep.
Play action, Lamar looking, caught, extends out, takes 2 steps, and it's really hard to see because it's very fast, right?
Nope, incomplete. When I watch it live, I am dead set. That's incomplete. When I watch it full speed,
do you know
that's
what's crazy? Is both refs that watched it full speed here are signaling touchdown. Touchdown, touchdown. Both refs that watched it live are saying touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. Both guys that were like, yep, that's clearly a football move. It was only determined afterwards that this wasn't a touchdown. That's why I disagree. Because if 2 different refs are like, hey, football move, touchdown, and now we're looking at it in slow motion and thinking no touchdown, the refs agree with me at this point. It's just the booth that came back and said, I don't know. So this is really close, right? This is one of the closest ones we've ever reviewed.
I will say that last argument is definitely the most damning against my case because, again, when I watch it live, I see absolutely not. That's not a catch. But yes, pointing out that watching it live, 2 refs said it was.
And those 2 refs watched it
understand.
at full speed,
I understand
right?
the case for it being a touchdown, but I do stand by my claim that it's not a touchdown. I don't think he had enough time to genuinely make a football move and maintain possession.
So what needed to happen in your eyes for Isaiah Likely to get this ruled a touchdown here? What did he need to do more that he did not do on this play? I guess that's the final question.
Really maintain it longer. Because I don't think a snap of a finger is enough time to make a football move.
But in the rule book, and I'm going to ask you, this question. In the rule book, does it ever establish that a football move is this fast or this slow? Could a football move technically be as fast as tucking it and then getting it immediately punched out?
Sure. Yes. The rule book does not state timing, but it also does not state feet count. The only time the rule book mentions feet in determining a catch or not is when talking about inbounds.
Right. And I think that the feet, you're right, is a moot point. We can't be arguing feet count because it's as arbitrary in the rule book as number of seconds elapsed with ball, right? It's completely arbitrary. I think the biggest thing that is the central argument is this a football move? And you say no, and I say yes.
Understandable. I'm very curious on how many Steelers fans are going to support me and how many Ravens fans are going to call for me to be fired from the show.
Well, luckily they can't fire you, like some of the people that we're going to talk about firing in this next segment. How do you like that segue, Tyler? We're going to talk about...
Absolutely. I set you up for it.
That was great. It was like a little alley-oop.
Listen, I'm a teacher. Transitions and segues is an art.
Yeah.
And as a teacher, it's just about perfecting those segues and transitions.
Well, and since I finished it so well, you can refer to me as LeBron James for the rest of the show. Because we're going to talk about... not going to do that. So the first guy on our list is a first-year head coach. And as uncommon as it is, we do see first-year head coaches fired. We saw it with just last year with the Gerard Mayo and the New England Patriots. Fired him after 1 season. And a lot of people are making the same arguments for Aaron Glenn of the New York Jets.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious what your thoughts are. Are you going to hire him for another season or just axe him? Done.
I'm hiring him for another season. I think. Did he have a good season this year? Obviously not. He's not met any goals here, but I also think he does need time to develop a team. I was against Gerard Mayo being fired last year also. I'll admit that I was wrong because, well, when they hired Vrabel, I liked that move. But at initial firing, I was against them firing Mayo. But I think it takes a special kind of horrible coach to get fired as after being a first year. And I don't think he's there. I don't think he is the type that really meets that, oh my gosh, this is a dumpster fire criteria. I think he's proven his skills in the past as an assistant, and I think he needs at least a couple years to prove his development as a head coach. My case is he is a product of Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell's first year, he only won 3 games. But Dan Campbell even kind of said he's like, we're building a culture, and then it's gonna come. And then it did. The wins did come. I think Aaron Glenn's gonna kind of be in that same boat. Maybe he becomes just as successful as Dan Campbell, maybe doesn't, but I think right now I'm hiring Aaron Glenn for a second year.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but for a different reason. I do think that the answer to whether you should hire or fire Aaron Glenn lies in the NFC, maybe even the NFC North, but not in Detroit. I think the answer lies in Chicago because clearly the Ben Johnson model in Chicago, which is an extension of the Dan Campbell model, is working. Chicago was the #1 seed in a loaded NFC just last week. I know they lost it because they lost to Green Bay, but it's still very much on the table for a Chicago Bears team that has blown everybody's expectations away. They are fantastic. And so clearly, and what did Chicago do in the offseason? We talked about them. They drafted well, and they signed a bunch of offensive linemen to bolster that offensive line. What did the Jets do? They drafted, in my opinion, who should win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Armand Membu. He won't win it, but he's been a top 5 NFL tackle in his first season, and nobody talks about him because he's a New York Jet, but that guy has been unbelievable. I got some recent perspective from a Jets fan that I talked to from Great Britain, and he gave me the rundown on how good Membu has been, and I'll admit I even lost the plot a little bit on how good Membu has been because I'm just not paying attention. So the Jets are right there. They just need another year or two to build up the roster that's necessary for the Dan Campbell brain of football to be successful. Look to the Bears, and by extension, like you said, look to the Lions. Aaron Glenn should stay at least another season. However,
I agree.
This next coach has had plenty of time to figure out his situation. That's Zach Taylor of Cincinnati.
I'm firing him. I agree. He had a really good year in 2021, 4 years ago. He hasn't done anything since, and it's honestly a case of people are not developing. He's being carried by a healthy Joe Burrow, and I say a healthy Joe Burrow, meaning Joe Burrow will carry him when Joe Burrow is healthy. Zach Taylor consistently does not coach up his linemen to protect Joe Burrow. He does not coach up the players to get better on the defensive side of the ball. And he shows that he is incompetent of managing a game. So if you are not coaching your offense, nor your defense, nor managing the game, you deserve to be fired.
Yeah.
You're wasting Joe Burrow right now.
So Zach Taylor is so fascinating, Tyler. This is such an interesting coach because in 2021 and 2022, he takes his team to the Super Bowl and then back to the AFC Championship. Incredible coaching from objectively, right? Every other year, he's finished 4th in that division, but one, 2024. 4th in the AFC North 3 times in a division that includes the Cleveland Browns is abject failure. 3 times as 4th place in that division. I can't believe that. That's incredible.
And that one time where he didn't get fourth place in the division, he still missed the playoffs.
That's true. He was third, right? It's not like that was a good performance or anything. But yeah, no, and he's on pace for. He's already clinched a losing season in this, and probably set up for a third place finish again because the Browns are so abysmal. But 4-9 is not exactly the place you want your what is this, 6th or 7th year head coach. So yeah, no.
In my head, I said it too.
Yeah. Well, you're a teacher. It's practically reflex
I
for
teach
you.
middle school. Like it's tattooed into my brain.
So what do you do there? Like I think that if I am the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals, I give him precisely one more season because.
Oh, you're generous. You're more than this year?
Because he has had 4. Yes, he's had 4 straight. I know that I just framed it like it's bad, but here, let me frame it like it's good now. He's had 4 straight winning seasons with 2 playoff appearances in those 4 straight winning seasons. He has ended that streak of winning seasons, but his quarterback was hurt. Give him one more year of healthy Burrow, hopefully, and of one more year to try to figure out this team building thing that the Bengals are not very good at. It's not entirely on him. It is on the GM, but it is kind of on him a little bit because he has influence there. So give him one more year to coach with a hopefully healthy Burrow and figure out team building. And if he can't figure it out, at this point, you're wasting Joe Burrow's prime if you continue to have Zach Taylor on if there's another year of failure. So I am saying hire him one more season.
You're way more generous than I am. I'm saying fire him the second that plane. Who do they play in week 17? Or I'm sorry, week 18 now, I guess. Week 18. In week 18, the Cincinnati Bengals play.
It appears to be the Browns.
It's against the Browns in Cincinnati. And if I'm the owner, Zach Taylor better be thanking God that the game is in Cincinnati, because if I was the owner, I would have left him in wherever we were playing in week 18. He's not coming back with the team the second that game is over, because first off, what happens if Joe Burrow's not healthy next year? You can't keep kicking the can down the line. It's like, well, Burrow was hurt. Well, Burrow was hurt. You're the reason Burrow's hurt. You're not getting linemen or coaching the linemen to protect them. You've got to go get someone who won't waste the prime. Because even if Burrow's hurt one more year and you extend Taylor, now all of a sudden Joe Burrow's, who's already about to kill the Cincinnati Bengals with the cap room, you've wasted his rookie deal. And you've still got a bad coach who's not gonna get you anywhere closer to getting back to the Super Bowl.
I disagree with the supposition that he wasted the rookie deal. He has a Super Bowl appearance and an AFC Championship appearance on the rookie deal. The problem is he wasted the cap hell seasons after the rookie deal and is no longer fit to coach a team with a massive quarterback contract. It's proven difficult. Look at Andy Reid. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, look at the Bengals. Look at the Ravens too. Not an easy thing to do. And it's clear that Taylor may not be the man to do that job post rookie contract Burrow. But good debate.
I agree.
Good debate. I think either way, you could have a really good argument to hire or fire Zach Taylor. This one, though, the next one is Jonathan Gannon. And I've had you start off some of them. So do you want me to start or do you want to keep going?
I want you to start this one.
Okay, so Jonathan Gannon has been the coach of the Arizona Cardinals, a team that, Tyler, you root for, secondarily from the Chiefs, right?
Secretly, I do root. They are a top 3 team of mine.
Right, and he has been the coach since 2023, so he's kind of got 3 years of runway, right? 3 full seasons coming up on the end of this year, and his regular season record is 15-32 with a 319 winning percentage. Okay, that's pretty abysmal. It's really bad. And I know that Kyler Murray was kind of inherited by Gannon, maybe not the quarterback that he wanted, but he has never finished higher than 3rd in that loaded NFC West. And it doesn't really appear that he's got the chops to win games as the coach of the Cardinals. I think it's time. 3 years is enough runway to figure out, and there was great improvement from year 1, which was 4-13, to year 2, which was 8-9. Now you're back to 3-10. Cut them loose. If there's not continual improvement, or playoff appearances, it's time to let him go.
He's one that I think has shown glimpses of he can do all right. And the cards have definitely been stacked against him because you're right. He inherited Kyler Murray. I want to see him draft his quarterback and see what he can do with the quarterback that he didn't inherit. But I also think it's time to move on from Kyler. So I think the best move for the Arizona Cardinals is to do a full rebuild. This offseason, they need to hire a GM. That GM needs to hire their new coach, and that new coach needs to draft their quarterback in April. So as much as I want to see that happen, the best thing for the Cardinals is to fire him, but also completely fire the entire organization as well. Organization being GM and Kyler as well.
Yeah, and that's something that
So I'm saying fired.
Okay, and I know that it's reluctant. I don't think he's been a horrible coach. He's not like an Antonio Pierce level coach of the Raiders in 2024.
No.
That guy,
Yeah.
he not only had no team success, but he made horrible coaching decisions that you can directly point at him and go, this guy lost us the game with his forced down play calling, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Gannon, I don't think fits that bill. I think he's been better game manager than some of those one-year fires, but we are huge advocates on the show of the full reset model. It works. It is the best way. We've clowned the Chicago Bears for doing this cycle where they draft a rookie quarterback, fire the coach, hire a new coach. It seems to be now working with Caleb Williams, thank goodness for them. But for years and years, it was the model of abject failure. And so I still think that this one outlier of Ben Johnson doing really well doesn't justify, firing a head coach a year into a quarterback's rookie deal. Arizona Cardinals, like you said, should do the full reset. I think it would benefit them greatly, especially since they're slated to have a high pick this year.
I want to address that Ben Johnson just a little bit here as well. To kind of defend our model, it hasn't fully worked out with Ben Johnson yet. Because Matt Nagy's first year with the Bears was a division winner, was a double doink away from moving on in the playoffs. And you know how Matt Nagy went in Chicago, and you know how I feel about Matt Nagy now. It hasn't fully worked yet, but the full reset model has shown time and time again that it does work. The Chiefs did a full reset in 2013. The Lions did a full reset just a few short years ago too, and those are teams that maintained their success and didn't just have a one-hit wonder. The full reset model is what the Cardinals need. As much as I want to see him continue and try and draft a quarterback, it's just not what the Cardinals need.
I thought you were going to mention the fact that Ben Johnson's Bears currently have a negative point differential and look a little fraudulent going into the playoffs. So,
which is part of why I say which kind of goes into what my point about like a one and done fluke year could possibly be. I don't think it's not fully worked out for Chicago just yet.
Yeah, I think that
it's working out well right now. But
you're right to caution against snap judgments about a first-year head coach. So I agree with you. Full reset in line for the Cardinals. I think it would benefit them a lot. And now on to our final coach. This one's going to be controversial. I've already pissed off Steelers fans by saying the Isaiah Likely play as a catch. I'm going to piss off Steelers fans again because our next coach is Mike Tomlin. Objectively one of the winningest coaches in NFL history. And a Super Bowl champion.
Mike Tomlin right now is 2012 Andy Reid with Philly. One of the best coaches in that organization's history. But he is consistently not hitting the bar, and his time in that city has run out. I am referring to 2012 Andy Reid with Philly. In fact, actually, Zach, if you don't mind, I actually want to talk about Andy Reid right now after we get done talking about Tomlin.
Sure.
Tomlin built the Steel City back up again after the Bradshaw eras. And he maintained the Steel City after Roethlisberger retired. He owns the keys to the city and should never have to buy a drink in the city of Pittsburgh ever again as long as he lives. but his time is run out. A new dynasty is taken over, and the Tomlin dynasty is dead.
Yeah,
I would never fire him, but I would say, Mike, I think you should retire.
similar to what
That
Kansas State
kind of goes
did.
against hired or fired, but
Yeah, kind of similar to what Kansas State just did to Chris Kleinman. Just ushered him out of the building in favor of a new regime a little bit. Although Tomlin
sure.
is much more tenured. And here's my argument on why you should actually fire Mike Tomlin. Because the Eagles fired Andy Reid, right? Andy Reid wasn't asked politely to resign. He was fired for cause. It is because he was mid, all right? And that's, and my argument is from 2017 to 2021, the Steelers teams were some of the scariest and best squads in all of football with Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben, right? And Tomlin Tomlin didn't even get him a Super Bowl appearance with that team. Those were some of the most stacked teams of our lifetime with great defenses, excellent offenses, and they lost a lot in the playoffs. It's clear that the times have passed Tomlin by. And if he couldn't win with those teams, he's sure as hell not winning with teams that never have the balls to trade up for a good player or a good quarterback to support that great defense. This organization isn't gutsy enough. The reason the Chiefs with Andy Reid started getting success is because Andy Reid was the same guy in Kansas City as he was in Philly for the first couple of years. He got a middling quarterback, had a great defense, good offense, and couldn't win the big game. The Chiefs organization got ballsy and traded up with Buffalo to get into the top 10 and select Patrick Mahomes highly. The Steelers have not yet made such a move under Tomlin, and I don't think they will. They should fire him unless they're willing to suddenly finally make that move, and I don't think they are.
Yeah, and it's going to make the organization it's going to put the organization a lot easier spot to actually fire him if he has his first losing season. Because so far it's always been like, well, he had a winning season. He's never had a losing season. And if he does finally have that, now it's okay. It really is time.
Yeah, I think that his winning season gimmick has kept him alive longer than he should have. After he squandered the Big Ben era, it should have been over from there. Should have absolutely been over. Respect to the Eagles for knowing when to cut ties with Reid, because Reid just wasn't the right fit in that city. I think they made the right choice.
Yeah, and before we go on to our next segment, do you mind if I talk about Andy Reid for just a second, though?
Yeah, go for it.
Just a minute.
There's been a lot of discourse about him.
There has, and I'm actually going to kind of defend a little bit about what we're saying when I go on this next little rant, but to the Chiefs fans and verified Chiefs media accounts, by the way, especially, that are calling for Andy Reid to be fired right now in Kansas City, leave the city and never return. Never root for the Chiefs again. I don't like you. You have completely spat in the face of someone that built our city from ruin, worse than ruin. You could not give Chiefs tickets away. I know that because my parents have had season tickets and we could not give tickets away. And now, prior to the last 3 weeks anyway, you can't buy them for less than $1,000 if you want to actually see the field, really. Andy Reid is one of the greatest coaches of all time. 1 year away from winning back-to-back Super Bowls, and up until this January, will still be the defending AFC champion since 2021. A non-Chiefs team has not won the AFC since 2021. And people are calling for this man to be fired. Andy Reid has had 77% of his seasons in the playoffs. In his 26 years as a head coach, he has only missed the playoffs 6 times. If he misses the playoffs this year, it will be number 7 out of 27. Now, a lot of the crowd's going to be like, all right, well, he was carried by Patrick Mahomes, right? That's why he made the playoffs so much. He's carried by Donovan McNabb and Michael Vick. All right, so let's talk about another coach that might have been carried by a great quarterback. Let's talk about Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh for the 49ers, who was, if we're going to use the quarterback comparison, carried by Joe Montana. Bill Walsh missed the playoffs 3 times in his 10-year career, giving him only a 70% playoff percentage. Andy Reid is better than the coach making the playoff wise. He is better than the coach of the greatest quarterback of all time until Tom Brady came in. He's got 3 Super Bowls and 6 conference championships, while Bill Walsh had 3 Super Bowls and 3 conference championships. And then the great Don Shula, the winningest coach of all time. He missed the playoffs 14 times out of 33 years, meaning less than 60%. Less than 60% of Don Shula's season ended in the playoffs. By the numbers of playoff and Super Bowl success, Andy Reid is the winningest head coach of all time. Well, wait a minute. You just said the Eagles were right to fire Andy Reid. The one little slump Andy Reid had was that time. After 2012, Andy Reid went post 2012. Andy Reid had gone 2 seasons without making the playoffs and 4 seasons without winning a playoff game. He won 2 playoff games in 2008, went to the playoffs, lost first round in 2009, went to the playoffs, lost first round in 2010, missed it in 11, missed it in 12. Andy Reid's one multi-year slump was at the end of his Philly career. That's why we're saying it's good that he was fired in Philly. But now he's nowhere close to that. He's had his second missed playoff in his Chiefs tenure. That's my rant. It's a long rant, but long story short, if you're a Chiefs fan and you think Andy Reid should be fired, sell and burn your stuff and never root for the Chiefs again. I don't want you in our kingdom.
Yeah, well said. Sometimes perspective is needed.
Yeah.
When there's adversity.
Chiefs aren't having a great year, but it's 1 year. If he has a horrible year next year and the year after, all right, now we might be getting into that Philly range, but we are nowhere near that right now.
So, with that being said, there are some Chiefs players that I think we do need to have that conversation about.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is Harrison Butker. Because a large part of the Chiefs' success last year, the stat has been beaten to death. The flies are flying around the horse, guys. The Chiefs were 11-0 in one-score games last year, and they haven't won one yet this year. And a large part of that is because of the struggles of their all-pro kicker, Harrison Butker. He has not been consistent, and he has missed a lot of kicks, even some ones that are fairly important. So, is it time to move on from your all-pro kicker and famous Catholic Harrison Butker?
I think it's time to explore options for sure. I mean, the NFL is a cutthroat business, right? You have to be able to win and be able to do your job. If I'm the Chiefs, I certainly bring in a kicker during training camp. I mean, we brought in a kicker, we brought in a punter to compete with Matt Araiza last year. I don't see any reason why we can't bring in a kicker to seriously compete with Harrison Butker in training camp. And if Harrison Butker wins that battle, then we ride with him all season. But we have to be ready for him to lose that battle. And I'm okay with giving him that battle. I think he's earned the respect to at least ride with him for the year. But then year by year, we need to explore the other options if it continues.
Interesting. So I think...
So I'm kind of in the middle on that. I'm kind of in the middle on ditching Butker.
Interesting. I think that Chiefs Kingdom might be even more ferocious with the piranhas, biting at the feet of Harrison Butker, because when I attended a game... I attended a game in week 5 or week 6 of this season. Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs.
I think it was week 6.
Week 6 sounds right. And Harrison Butker missed an extra point. One that could have proven crucial had the Lions executed on 4th down, but ultimately did not prove crucial as the Chiefs won that game. And it was a minute and a half straight of booing him off the field. And the Chiefs fans are sick of him. And so... And I don't think that that's good for his psyche. I think that it has caused him to be worse. He has been one of the most celebrated players in Chiefs Kingdom. Then he kind of had that controversy that turned a lot of female Chiefs fans away from him. And he has not been the same kicker since. I hate to bring it back to that, but he hasn't. Mm-hmm. Since then, he has not been the consistent force of nature of making these kicks. And I think it might be time to move on, kind of similarly to like a Colin Kaepernick situation where his antics have become such a distraction for him as a player, him as the locker room, fans as a fan base. Might be just time to cut him loose. Let him go somewhere else where the opportunity is better and the press is better, right? Because he's kind of maybe run his course in Kansas City. I would say fire.
The only reason that I'm saying maybe fire, bring in competition and decide there, is because Butker goes back. He goes every other year. He'll have a year of making 60-yard field goal. 60, I think his longest was 61-yard field goal. He'll do that. He'll be the clutch Harrison Butker he is. And then he'll have a year of missing a lot of extra points. And then he'll have a year of being really good. And that's kind of how he was last year. And then he'll have a year, he'll go back and forth. So he's not consistently just gone downhill. He's starting to fluctuate. That's the only reason I'm not saying fire yet, because he tends to fluctuate. And I want to discover if he's actually going downhill or if he's just fluctuating.
Yeah, I think that there might be some validity to that claim. However, since 2017, his field goal percentage from 2017 to 2021, his field goal percentage never dipped below 88%. That's pretty dang good. And then in 2022, he had that really bad year where he hit 75%, and then he jumped up to his highest ever career in 94. In 24 and 25, he has been stuck at 84% field goal percentage. I think that 2 straight years of 84% is grounds to move on. 84% is not on the upper echelon, and it's not enough to win Chiefs brand of football. Okay? The Chiefs play a close margin game all the time. It's just the way they've designed their team. They're not a team like the Rams that blows their opponents out, or maybe even a team like the Lions that prior to this year was blowing opponents out. The Chiefs have always played get the ball last, win the dang game. And 84% field goal percentage won't cut that, in my opinion. I think the Chiefs need someone more close to that 90% range.
Can you search up one stat for me real quick?
Sure.
What is the average? We're saying, 90 is the highest. He was at 88, but now he's 84. To me, like 84 to 88, how significant is that?
Yeah.
What's the average?
The NFL field goal average has hovered around 85%. So he's right now below average.
Okay. So then statistically speaking, you could say if we just go sign to the average of the average, our field goal percentage would increase then.
Right. The current average right now is 85.4. In Butker's last 2 seasons, he has been 84 in 2024. And then 84.6. So he has been below that NFL average for the last 2 seasons.
Okay. And I assume that the last place is still going to be high 70s, low 80s?
Yeah, I would be curious to see who the low is, but I just have the averages up right now.
Okay. But the only reason I point that out is because, when we think about like test scores, 81 to 84, or excuse me, 84 to 85 is nothing. But, in a timed race, a 4.2 versus a 4.4 on a 40-yard dash is significant. So like close numbers can still be very significant is what I'm trying to get at. And I do think that 84 to 88 is very significant in terms of kicking percentages.
Right now, I can give you the numbers here. Harrison Butker and the Kansas City Chiefs by extension. I think they've had a couple backup kickers in this season, right? Or maybe that was last season.
I don't think we have. I don't think we have this year.
Okay. Well, he sits in the bottom 13, 84%. Bottom half of the NFL, obviously, if the average is higher. Currently, there are multiple teams with 90 and above. Buffalo Bills at 22, all the way up to the Jets at 32. The Jets have the best field goal percentage in the NFL, weirdly enough. But
Jets need it. Jets need those field goal percentages.
The top 10 teams all have 90 or above, and Butker is currently at 84 and in the bottom half. So I think, and has been in the bottom half for the last 2 seasons, in my opinion, that's grounds to move on, especially because he's on a team that plays so close to the margins.
I'm with you, and I don't even think it would be that out of characteristic. The Chiefs moved on from Dustin Colquitt shockingly fast, and for money reasons that I don't think it would be in the Chiefs' best interest to really extend him and capitalize farther. Bring in a kicker in training camp, let him compete, but be very ready to move on.
Sure. And yeah, I would tend to agree with the competition angle, and I lean towards getting rid of him. We do have one final player that I think we can do a quick hit on before we
Yeah.
move on to our full recaps of both teams, and that's quarterback. Gotta talk about one quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
Tua Tagovailoa of the Miami Dolphins. Ugh, he's had a long and tumultuous NFL career, but what are your thoughts on Tua?
Fire.
Okay.
That's my thoughts on Tua. The Dolphins, I think, are actually going full rebuild mode. They've already fired their GM, but they've said that Mike McDaniels will stay the head coach through the remainder of the season, and I think that means they are geared to get rid of him at the end of the season, and then I think that new head coach is going to draft his quarterback.
Yeah, it's so weird to say that because
Fire Tua.
Miami is currently the same record as Kansas City, right? It's so weird to say that. But two different routes to get there, right? But Miami, who has a distinct opportunity to finish with a winning record, may decide to get rid of their coach and their quarterback, who has 18 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. That's hardly a player that you stick with. Although I do believe Tua has a fairly large contract with Miami, although I'm not 100% certain on that. I'm going to look it up really quick. But yeah, I would tend to agree. It's time to move on, even though he signed a 4-year, $212 million contract. I think a team would love to use him as a bridge quarterback, but Miami should draft someone new.
You could possibly deal him to Minnesota. I mean, we're kind of getting into speculation and
Indianapolis
kind of going off to fire him.
If Daniel Jones and his Achilles aren't ready, Tua comes in until Danny's ready. I think they would take that deal.
Yeah, sign Tua to start the season.
Something like that. I don't know. He just hasn't worked in Miami. He's having his worst season as a career in Miami. It's time for a change of scenery. We've seen quarterbacks get change of scenery and do better. And I think that could happen to Tua.
Miami's in a good situation, I really feel like, because with the current 6-7 record, let's say they finish 8-9. Hell, let's say they finish 9-8. They'll get a top 20 draft pick for the first round. There's no quarterbacks this year coming up that are like, we've got to get them top 5. So they can, or even really first round, I think. So they can sit at, I don't think so.
Tyson?
Maybe a couple.
Fernando Mendoza?
I don't think they're in desperate need to go up to top 5, though, to get their quarterback. I think they can sit at pick 16. And if they like a first round guy, go get him take him at 16, or get a first round talent, get another lineman, and then take another quarterback second round. I think the Dolphins are in a really good spot to do a full rebuild without having to give up a lot to do it, especially if they can find a team to take Tua.
And that's the thing. I think this Miami offense can be just like a Kyle Shanahan or a Mike McDonald offense in Seattle, for example. The Tua's biggest problem is he's only played 17 games in the season once.
Mm-hmm.
That's his biggest issue. I think when he's been on the field, he's been fine. I mean, he was an MVP finalist in 2022. But consistency and health have been his biggest issues, and so that's why I think at this point, if you're Miami, you need someone who's consistent, and Tua isn't that. Some other team can take a risk on him, but Miami, he should be done. But that is our final player in our hire or fire. I really like that segment. I think lots of good discussion, but we're going to move on to another player really quick before we get our team recaps, and that is 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. Speaking of the Colts, he has signed to the practice squad, and I'm assuming that he's going to start getting some meaningful playing time for the Indianapolis Colts. What are your thoughts? Do you want me to present my little news story on why he got hired to the Colts first, and then we can give our thoughts on it, or do you want to give initial reactions?
My initial reaction was, dang, how many kids does it take for him to be like, I got to get back out. I got to get out of the house and back on the field.
He is a grandfather at this point. So even then.
Yeah, that's nuts. 44 years old. My initial reaction, based on your comment there, I assume maybe there's more to the story as to why the Colts are signing him. I assume just because the Colts were the last team that had him, maybe there was still some contract rights with him retiring. He knows the organization because that's where he played for a year or so. Um, Good luck to the Colts. As a Chiefs fan fighting for a playoff spot, I hope it doesn't work out. And as a Chiefs fan that once faced Phillip Rivers twice a year, I really hope it doesn't work out.
Fair point. And so I will say the news story about this Rivers signing makes it make a little bit more sense. So
Okay.
my source is JJ Watt. So I think it's fairly trustworthy.
Probably reliable.
Philip, yeah, right. Philip Rivers ran the same offense as the Colts for his son Gunner's high school team this season. He was the coach. He and Shane Steichen, the current head coach of the Colts, for those of you who don't know who he is, uh, have spoken weekly about it, discussing plays and even watching film together. So familiarity with Steichen's scheme seems to be no issue, and the motivations for this is probably because, A, like you mentioned, the Colts are out of the playoffs right now. They need to win and win now. They don't have time to get Joe Flacco up to speed, who just got released by the Browns, in this offense. They don't have time for it. They need somebody who knows it inside and out and can play. That's the motivation behind it. The problem is the arm's still there at 44. Is the arm still there? That remains to be seen. So
the arm doesn't need to be there is the thing with JT in the backfield.
That's true.
The arm just needs to get a little dink and dunks here and there to give JT some rest before you give him the ball again.
Right. I'm curious to see how Steichen is going to adjust the scheme because Daniel Jones was one of the more effective deep ball throwers in the league. I don't think that Rivers is going to be slinging it 50, 60 yards downfield at 44. Maybe he is. He's always had a very strong arm, but I don't know. I don't think that you can dial up that many deep shots with a 44-year-old that likely would have to stick into the pocket and throw those deep balls, and B, someone who probably doesn't have the strength to get it down the field anymore. But I am so excited to watch this. I know that you are in a unique position to where you can't root for the coolest storyline we've seen in years.
I can't. I need him to fall.
But I root for an NFC team, and I cannot wait to watch this happen. This is going to be cinema. No matter if they lose all 4 games, it's going to be cinema.
I need a better NFC team because my AFC team and NFC team are both 6 and 7 and not making the playoffs this year. Well, I need a better NFC team.
You could always join the Lions as a trial run. The Chiefs are my AFC team, so it would be nice to have a.
It's fair.
If the Lions make the playoffs and the Chiefs don't, you could always take a trial run of a hopefully a few games there. See how you like it.
We'll see. Well, maybe a little trial. I don't know.
I'll convince you. I'll convince you one of these days.
We'll see.
But that's what we've put. Now with that context, what do you think about P. Rivy?
Oh, man. I don't even know, man. It's just the Chiefs have just made me speechless all year long.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was saying the Chiefs have made me speechless all year long. I don't really know what more I can say. The offense is killing us. Philip Rivers is going to be another quarterback that if Philip Rivers is the death of the Chiefs' playoff chances again, and it gives me flashbacks, I'm gonna crash out. I'm gonna crash out if Philip Rivers comes back from the grave to make the Chiefs miss the playoffs again. I'm gonna be so mad.
Yeah,
that's where my brain was going when I started talking about the Chiefs there.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation with Aaron Rodgers.
That was the wire there.
I'm in a similar situation with Aaron Rodgers playing the Detroit Lions here in a few weeks. If he ends our playoff hopes, you are going to see a very depressed Lions fan on that week's show.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I get you there. It sucks.
And with that, I really don't have anything to recap with the Chiefs. If you haven't seen my instant reaction video, go check that out on our YouTube Shorts and TikTok. But I have nothing more to say outside of that reaction video.
Yeah, I think just for the fans out there, though, because I did get a few calls about this. What has to happen for the Chiefs to make the playoffs really quickly for the rest of the year? Because there is hope, right?
There is hope. They are going to need help from the Colts a little bit though. But they have to eliminate turnovers. Their defense has actually been playing pretty well, all things considered, but they have to eliminate turnovers and they have to catch the ball. If they do those two things, if they win the turnover battle, the Chiefs are going to win.
So I
But
was
you
more
can't
talking
drop
about
the ball
like seeding wise
and
as well. Like what has to happen in
so
the NFL landscape for the Chiefs to be a
gotcha.
playoff team?
On
I
the
like that
Colts,
analysis. I do think it's right, but because
yes.
I know the answer as well. If you don't, off the top of my head,
Obviously they have to win out.
right?
And really, in my mind, they had to win out starting this last week. The Colts have to drop. We do have a tiebreaker over the Colts, so the Colts do need to drop 2 games though. That would make us a tie with the Colts. So then we take the tiebreaker. And then the Ravens have to. Hold on. Why do the Ravens have a tiebreaker over us? According to ESPN, the Ravens have a tiebreaker over Kansas City and Miami based on best win percentage in conference games. Okay. So the Ravens conference record is 4-5. The Chiefs record is 3-5. So the Ravens have to lose at least one conference game.
Well, the
Then
Ravens
we have to
also
win out.
the
Then
Chiefs have the head-to-head. That should take precedent. I think that's.
I agree. Maybe it's because it's a tie with Miami too,
Oh, is it
because
three-way?
we're all 6-7.
Oh,
So
it's a three-way tie.
it's a 3-way tie. That's why. So
Oh,
Miami has to lose at least one more conference game. The Ravens have to lose at least one more conference game, and the Chiefs have to win out. And then the Colts have to lose at least 2 games. So now we're at the 8 seed if those things happen. And then the
Chargers, right?
Texans. No, it'd be the Texans, really. Well, maybe the Chargers, because the Chargers are 9-4, but we still play them one more time.
Right. So if the Chargers
But they have
drop
a
the rest of their
conference record.
games,
But they have a conference record of 7-2. So like I don't think we have the ability to beat the Chargers. I think the Texans have to drop 3 games of their final 4. Texans have to miss 3 of the final 4 because they have the tiebreaker over us. Yeah. So in the short, here's what needs to happen seeding wise for the Chiefs to make the playoffs. Chiefs have to win out. Dolphins and Ravens have to lose at least one conference game. Colts have to lose 2 games, just in general. And then the Texans have to lose 3 games.
ooh, it's long. Win out and get a lot of
So
help.
you're telling me there's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance.
And technically, another solution is if the Chargers drop the rest of their games, one of them is against Kansas City. So if they drop their other 3 games, the Chiefs would usurp them as well. But that's also
But
4 straight losses.
Beaten us. But they've beaten us though. And so
if they drop their other 4 games
split,
and the Chiefs win their other 4 games, the Chiefs would have the better conference record. The Chiefs would overtake them. That's the thing.
Okay, so alternatively, the Chargers lose out.
Yeah, it's a long shot.
Honestly, I still think it's more likely that the Texans drop the next 3 than for the Chargers to lose out.
Yeah, Chargers just have to get one.
Because they still have to play the Raiders, I think.
Right. But
so, I mean, yeah.
But with that, I can move on a little bit to Detroit. There's not a whole lot to say. The Lions are down so many players, and even more players are down now with Brian Branch season ending, unfortunately. But enough with the doom and gloom. The Lions put up 44 points and ended the Dallas Cowboys season. And as you know, I despise the Dallas Cowboys. Get them out of here. I am sick of these stupid sons of guns talking all this smack like they're going to make the playoffs and win out and run the table. Bye-bye. I'm sick of it. The Dallas Cowboys are going home, and the Lions now have a chance, if they win in LA, to be a game away from, potentially claiming that division. If the Lions win out, they have a 56% chance to win the NFC North. That is a lot more hope than I had after Thanksgiving. I was like, it's over. It is over. But if the Packers and Bears split, Lions play the Bears again, and the Packers lose one more game, Whew, it is a division title in Detroit for the third straight year. So, and the Lions have beat Matt Stafford's Rams every time they played. They beat him in the wild card, and they beat him in the game following that in overtime in the regular season. Don't count the Detroit Lions out against the Rams. They have a mini bye. It's going to be cinema the rest of the way. It is win now football in Dan Campbell's Detroit Lions. Great win against Dallas, but it's not. It's far from over. You got to keep winning. Like Dan Campbell said, you got to keep going. So that's my recap. Tune in to that afternoon game of the freaking week. Lions Rams. It's going to be close. There's no doubt about it. But speaking of games you got to tune into, we do have one final segment for you, right, guys?
Absolutely. We got 3 games of the week, 3 TK games of the week. My first one on this list for the week 15 matchup is you guys. Rams and Lions. It's a crucial battle. It's going to affect playoff seedings one way or the other. Because even if the Lions can't win the division, it's still going to affect the Rams seeding. They're fighting for a 1 seed. They're fighting for a division title just as much as you guys are. This is almost a little mini playoff game as well. The other one on this list is going to be Ravens and Bengals. I think the Bengals are eliminated from the playoffs mathematically. If not, they're close.
They're
but
close.
Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson is always cinema, regardless of what the records are. That's going to be a really good game. Joe Burrow versus Lamar Jackson. And then my final one is Packers versus Broncos. The Packers are kind of fighting for some playoff seeds as well. I think the Broncos are really fighting to keep their 2 spot instead of falling to the 3 spot. But if they lose to the Packers, it could be some momentum shifts that could allow Denver to fall to the 3 seed. And it could be what the Packers need to give themselves a better playoff seeding as well. So those are my 3 games of the week. None of them are primetime games either. So some under the radar games this week for sure.
Definitely. And that Packers-Broncos game, I hate to do it to you, Tyler, but go Broncos country, let's ride. Come on, baby.
I get it, but go Pack, go.
Look, if the Green Bay Packers were playing against Afghanistan, I would root for Afghanistan. Charles Barkley. I got to quote Chucky here, but man, I despise Green Bay almost as much as I despise the Dallas Cowboys. So go Broncos,
I get
go
it,
Afghanistan.
but that's how I am with Denver, though. So,
but regardless, 3 great choices. I'm gonna watch them all.
Yeah.
But that's all we have. An extra long treat episode for you guys. So appreciate you tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate you guys.